Greetings, I am Darkling and this is Ark Survival Evolved. Today I'm going to take you on the journey of building a vertical greenhouse. I had a query about it recently, so I thought I'd make a video and show you the full process. So stick around and hopefully you'll learn something. Okay, so the first step for a vertical garden is the foundation work. Now it's a pretty basic foundation starting with a hex. And once I've got my first row around my hex, I'm actually going to remove the center. Now the reason I'm going to do this is I've built this so many times I know where I have issues. Well, I've not built the vertical garden that many times, it's just the foundation work. I find that when I'm first starting off the foundations, I tend to get myself confused as to where the center of my actual construction is. So by removing those, I can just make sure I need two foundations width all the way around. So I'm just eliminating my own human error. And as you can see, some of these I'm snapping under the ground. It's not going to matter as long as they count as groundwork. I do quite like having buildings that do sink into the ground. I think it's quite a cool look. Now for this outside run, I do actually want it level. Okay, we might need a few extra foundations for this. Thankfully I still had it on my hotbar, my quick list. Okay, so as you can see, I've got two all the way around the central mark. So I'll fill the central piece in again. I'm just going to leave a couple of foundations out just for now, and I'm going to put a line of walls around the outside of this. Okay, and there should be another one there. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in here, a little bit of interest, and then we're going to stack our second one. Now the reason we're going to need two high here is I'm going to stick in the cages for dung beetles. Now the vertical garden I did prior to this was done on Ragnarok on my storage base, and it had a huge foundation below it, and the foundation itself, I'm out of walls, I need more. The foundation work was so large that I could just build whatever I wanted. I didn't actually need the foundations, and I used the Jones egg and poop mod. Now I don't believe that actually it gets updated anymore, but I actually just straight use the S Plus stuff these days. You've got dung beetles, you don't actually need the thatch for the crop plots, so if you use crop plots you have to fill it with thatch, whereas if you just use dung beetles, as long as the farmer's turned on, it'll feed them out of the item collector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to taper this down to the original hex. Now you are going to get some of these snap funny. The tri-roofs are probably the most painful thing to actually snap in the game. Okay, so I've got my first line done. I'm going to need some more roofs. Take the whole lot. No, I won't. Apparently it's too heavy. So next thing I'm going to do is fill in that first line. Now I'm going to use fly commands so that I can do this a lot quicker. Once I get up there at least. Now the reason I left the holes in the floor is again just to make sure I can keep an eye on where the center is while I was doing the initial bits and pieces. Again, it pays to know your weaknesses, and I'm pretty good at spotting patterns, but for some reason doing the tri foundations really does my head in at times. Okay, so we've got the start of a hex there now. Excellent. Okay, so from here I'm going to build up. Looks like my mouse is on the fritz. I'm going to build up some walls from the center. Now I'll be able to fill in these foundations in a second. Okay, and I'm going to take those all the way up to the top of that. Okay, as you can see, we've got ourselves the start of a stairwell. So these sides will get door frames. I'm just going to use the metal door frames that I've got here. I've got a whole bunch on me for the rest of the build, so I'll use those for this part. Excellent. Okay, so from here I'm going to use admin commands. I'm going to use ghost for this just so I can go through things if I need to. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place some tries in the top here. Oops. Of course I had the exact right amount on me, so okay. So I'm going to pick a spot down here that I want to work from. I need some staircases. Now I'm only going to use stairwells at the very bottom of this. Now the reason I don't use it for the whole construction is when you're working in the tri, if you use one of these staircases, you have to go 2 walls up in order for it to snap properly. If you only go 1 up, like I want to, you're going to end up with some funny snaps. So as you can see, I'm already connected up to here, so what I'm going to do from here is actually drop all the junk off that I've got on me at the moment and just keep the door frames. Now I'm going to need a lot for this particular project. Now I'm going to taper this straight outwards, so it's not really going to be needed to have too much there. Actually, I will stick a row of walls in there first, I think. Thinking about it. Also, I'm going to need some more. The beauty of making this with admin commands makes it so much easier. I do encourage people when you're first learning to build or you're doing something for somebody else, jump on your single player, mess around, make mistakes, do some building. It's the best way to learn all the snaps. I know a lot of people who won't even try new building if they think they're going to lose building materials. It's not the way to go. Just go ahead and just do some of the building on single player, and you'll just have so much more fun. Okay, so from here I've got my first set of structure I'm going to build up. Now I'm going to make, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to go up 5. That should be big enough. 10, 5. I like it when people do go and do builds on single player. The amount of things you can learn just by messing around. Some of the designs I've come up with that people really like, I took the time to do an experiment in single player, and then took that and built on the server, and it made such a difference. I do it a lot with where I'm going to build as well, because a lot of the time if you're building in a large scale, sometimes you don't know if you've got the space to actually do your project, so it pays to just go out there and try it in the space that you've got. Okay, so that looks like it's going to be about right. So from here I'm going to swap to the tri glass. Not 100% sure how many of those I'm going to need. I'm going to drop off the door frames and the walls. I'm going to take some ceilings of both kinds. Now, I always say match the foundations, match what you're building to the foundations. Now, that isn't always the case. You don't always have to do that. I'm going to give you the example here where I'm actually not going to. I'm going to build squares off here because I can. So, will something disappear possibly? I'll find it if it snapped funny. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the first lot of ceilings. I'm going to do some all the way up. Oops. Now these are the ceilings that the crop plots are going to sit on. I really like this design. I haven't used it many times, but I really think I should. It's got a rather distinctive look about it. The last build I did, I actually constructed this, like I said, on the my storage base, and because the way I attached it, it was actually attached on the side rather than the very bottom like this one is. So it's a little bit different than what I've actually done in the past. So I've not actually built this before, so well, not this particular foundation work, so what you're seeing is literally me building it for the very first time. Now I'm going to join these all together with some tries. This is just so when you have to actually wander around on them, you don't fall through. Now this is what I call a set and forget kind of design. So once it's actually up and running, you won't go up the ramps or anything. It'll be a self-sustaining unit. That's good in a lot of ways, because the door frames that I use to separate the levels, they're perfectly sized to admit a player through it. However, once you put the crop plots in, it actually reduces that size so you can't fit through it, so you have to actually crouch. It's not a problem because you very rarely have to go through all your crop plots. If you're using the S+ NPC stuff like the item collector and the farmer, you're not going to need it. Yeah, actually accessing it, you just crouch, you can get through it. Can be done when you need to change your seeds over or whatever it is you're planning to do. Okay, so I've got the outer line, the crop plot line done. So now from here I need to set my outer line. So what I'm going to do is from here, okay, I'm going to need possibly a supporting structure. Hopefully I remember to add some ramps in here. Okay, glass ones will do fine. I need those. Oh, actually, no, I will need those. A few extra of those. And I'll take some walls this time as well. Okay. So what I'm going to try and do is just see where I can snap off this. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. Sometimes it'll snap exactly where you want it. Okay, so this is where I'll do a test to see if it'll support without having that ceiling there. Okay, yeah, well. So what I'll do is I will extend that out by another one, and I'll do the same all the way around. And also snap the tries in place. Remove the scaffold. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting a definitive structure here. So we basically just keep this process going. Now I might just mass produce this a little bit more and go back and pick up the pieces afterwards. And it's quite a lot of the time I will actually do this and like double check what I remember. Sometimes snaps work the way I remember them, sometimes they don't. Depends how recently I've actually used the snap point. Okay, so now I'll go back through and remove all these extra pieces. And I will extend these upwards. Oops. That's what I want. Doesn't seem to want to give me that snap. Come on. No. Okay, there we go. This is a tad on the bright side for me. I have the brightness up a little bit brighter than I normally would for the recordings. It seems to come out a little bit better, but it's a bit of a nightmare to actually see what I'm doing sometimes. Now, normally if I was building something like this, I'd probably build it a lot taller than what I'm actually doing now. I think aesthetically it would look better taller, but for this tutorial I think what I've got at the moment is plenty big enough. The point of these tutorials is not to show you how you should build, but how you can build. So I'm not expecting you to go away and build this very specific design. I want you to go away and have an idea of what you could potentially do yourself and come up with something better. Okay, so what I've got now, awesome. Okay, I'm just inspecting how the snaps are as to where I go from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some try out of here. We're going to want a few. Now I shouldn't need these at the moment. Okay, and I'm definitely going to want some more walls than what I picked up. In fact, I think I'll take some large ones. Not 100% sure how many I'm going to need. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'll work with 4. If I have to add an extra height, I will. So from what I'm going to do is put another ceiling out, and then I'm going to snap to the top of that with what I didn't actually put in my hotbar. Okay, now if I pull this out, lo and behold, I have a phantom snap. Now, phantom snap is probably the best way of putting it. It's where you've managed to snap something together that won't ordinarily snap. I'm going to see if it works on these tries. Yep, does seem to be fine. And how's the top? Nice and even, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to carry on around. Snap all these in place. Again, like I said, you know, if I don't use these snaps very often, I'll do a test before I get too involved, and if I do find a problem, I'll just have a look at what I've got and where I've made the mistake. Usually it is a mistake where I haven't actually snapped something like I've done in the past. Sometimes the snaps require an extra piece to be added. I've done a few pretty random things. Whoops. If you snap a railing down off a ceiling, which you need scaffolding to do, it's possible to do it, but in order for it to stay in place, you actually have to have another piece, either a railing or a wall sitting on top of it to actually remain in place. If you just have a ceiling with a railing dropping off the bottom, it'll actually collapse the structure. I'm going to take all of those. Take all of them, I can take all of them. I probably should have taken all of them. It's great, I finally got my push to mute working properly. The first number of videos I've done, I've had to very quietly try and cough in the background. Been very nice actually being able to push a button and not have to worry about you guys hearing me. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a definitive structure here. I've got to go through and pull out all those extra pieces, being as careful as I can not to shoot out anything else. Now, when you're building complex structures with S+, the demo gun is a blessing as well as a curse, because sometimes, like when you're not used to it, it pays to just take your time a little bit more. If it takes a little bit longer to do it, doesn't matter, just take your time. And especially when it comes to like server lag, you really don't want to have to deal with it. Okay, now here's the interesting part. Where is my structure going to come up to? I might need to put some more door frames on there. I don't know if I'll be adding another level or not. So again, I'm going to have to fiddle around just to make sure everything balances properly. Now I don't think I'm going to be able to snap this quite the way I want to, so I'm going to have to do some scaffold work here. Any of those? Probably some more of those. Definitely don't need any of these anymore. Okay. Door frames, that's what I wanted. Okay, so as you can see, we're starting to get a bit of interest in this build. And am I heavy? Okay, so I'm going to look below and I can see that this is going to be a square. Now I know the chances of me being able to snap directly to the top of this are slim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a snap. Now I'm going to see which way I can snap it from. Oops, the wrong kind. I can definitely slope it inwards. Okay, so that's not going to work. So in this case I'm going to snap it like that. Now, the question is, okay, no, I can't do it like that just yet. So this is where my builds get a little bit funky. So as you can see, I've snapped that back in place like I did, and it had failed before, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to add another top here. As you can see, I've got a top for this now. So that's going to be the highest point. I'm still going to be able to put another, definitely going to be another one here. Okay. You can see when I'm concentrating, when I go quiet, I'm thinking this through a little bit more. I do have more double door frames, so I think I might just cap the top of this with the door frames. Sometimes I might do this in actual glass walls, sometimes I might do it with stone. It depends how I'm capping the very top. I'm probably going to cap this part here with stone, and around the outside I will use glass. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a hidden cap, so all these ones here will get, actually no, I possibly will leave them visible, it's hard to be sure, but I've added that now so I can remove the scaffold. As you can see, I used the scaffold to get me up to where I needed to see where I could snap from. Now I've got to check here, when I snap to it, is it going to give me the same overlap? No, it isn't. So what I will do is I will actually remove it, I'll re-snap it. And that way all the snaps around here I can just snap from the top down. It's a lot easier. Whoops. Now this particular project, the reason I picked this is I've had a bit of interest in the past, and I actually just had somebody message me and ask me specifically about how I actually constructed this, so I thought I'd put something together just to show how it can be done, because I do know a few people that have been keen to know. As you can see, these ones here, like I say, the tri roofs can be a pain to snap. If you've got them in the right positions, they're actually really easy to snap. The top of walls, they're fine. Edge of ceilings, not so much. And if you've got both of them snapped together and you're trying to add the tries, yeah, it does get a little bit problematic. Okay, oh, I'm actually out of the try. Okay, like I said, if I was doing this on a server, I would probably make this taller. Probably by another 2 or 3 walls on the side. Just because of the size of the foundation work that I added, I'd probably want this to look a little bit more elongated at the top. I mean, I could always double it, but at the same time, if you're doubling it, then that's a lot more greenhouse than you could possibly need. Of course, you could separate the levels between the crop plots so that they're actually spaced apart. It would be a lot easier to move around in. Okay, so I've got all those in place. I'm just going to add an extra row on the inside of here. Some more crop plots. Now, I'm going to stop and rearrange my hotbar. Okay, I'm not going to need those, it's just these two. Now, I can't say it enough. If you are building a lot, whoops, make sure that you keep your hotbar updated. If you're changing between building materials or whatnot, make sure you update, because if you have to fiddle around with keys too much, it slows your building down. Oh, I've got something going on here. Just re-snap this and see if that... I don't like too many changes. Like sometimes, I think I did a raft video and I left one ceiling that wasn't snapped quite properly. To be honest, I had so many problems with that raft video that I was ready for it to be done with. Okay, so there we go. So now we have all the levels and the outer glass area. So from here I'm going to cap the very top, and for that I'm going to use stone. I'm just going to need 6 tiles for that. I'm capping this with stone just to tie it in with the base. This is not going to be over any of the crop plots, just the stairwell. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the stairwell, which is a little bit, probably a little bit bizarre. It's going to be like that, is it? Okay, so I'm going to snap it down. Ooh. Yeah, okay, so it might be a snap to the opposite job. No, that one actually did snap properly. Figures. Like I said, if you've got multiple snaps going on, these don't place quite as well. What it is I have the door frames below and the ceilings on top. You do get used to this kind of building, it's just a matter of having a bit of patience. There we go. Okay, so we've got the capping in place. Now I'm going to go through and just put the crop plots in. And I'll also pick up the intake. A full 10 of those. We can lose some of this extra stuff. I don't actually need any of the construction stuff now because I think it's all completed. Oh, actually no it isn't. I take those and probably some of those. Should probably do that before doing the crop plots actually. I'll do the water and the ramp at the same time. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to place the pipe. Now I'm just going to look at which direction the water is, and I'm going to pop the first bit of pipe in. I'm going to center it as close as I can to that middle spot. Okay, now with the... Okay, so it's going to want to snap that direction. That's interesting. Now what I do is I place downwards. Now I'm going to see if it still wants to snap it off that one side. It does. Now, here's a trick for you. See how it says requires connection and water? Now, if I'm a betting man, I would say that's probably already deep enough. So I'm just going to cycle through the snap points, click to place, and sure enough, it's connected to water. And then I can now go up here. Oops, I think I might have overlaid one of those. Okay. Let's see, where's the top level? Top level's there, so I will just stick that at the very top. And every couple on the way down, I'll place another. Probably don't need that bottom one, but I'll add it anyway. Okay, so this is where things are a little bit... Oh, that's that extra ceiling that I couldn't find. Yeah, this is where things get a little bit more annoying. I'm going to remove a section out of here, that part there, take that there. Now I'm going to take this piece here by hand because the clipping on the stairs is atrocious. You'd be surprised how often you'll pick up the stairs instead of the walls around it. So I think I can actually add another couple of stairs in there, which will be excellent. It'll cause me a lot less problems. Like I said, some of these things you have to do on the fly. You have to see what's going on. In which case I could probably take out those ceilings. Because of the way I built this, those were supporting ceilings, but now that everything's in place, it supports itself. So I will put these down. Okay, so I'm even with the first level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shimmy that into my hotbar, and we're going to place the first ceiling. So that looks like it's lined up quite nicely with that one. I'm going to go around by 3, and then I'm going to place a sloped roof, sloped tri-roof. Okay, and then I'm going to place another lot of tri around there. 3 again, I think, yep. Excellent. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go back down here, turn off my ghost, and I'm going to walk up the stairs and just make sure I can actually get through this. Excellent. Pace to do it. Sometimes you will find that the tries will block the area off. The way the sloped try, there's a little bit of an overlap. I've had a few problems with them where I've used them for ramps. I really like using these things for ramps. There's a few techniques I've come up with for ramp building, and I can attach slope walls to the side of them, which is a little bit problematic, but I think I covered the basics in the self-supporting ramps. It's the same method. If you've got a sloped wall beneath it, you can stick a ceiling out the side, put a wall up, and then use that to snap a ramp and then the railing. And then you can remove all the extra bits. Okay. Are we on our top level? We are on our top level. Excellent. So I will I'll leave that one blank. I doubt you'd be able to get up the ramp otherwise. Okay, so I'm not going to bother filling that in with a railing. If you fall down, you're only going to fall down one level. It's no major. So we now have water. We have all the ramps in place. We need the crop plots. Now I will do the remodeling of the glass. However, I think I will do that not on the recording. I'm going to need more than that, because it is a very time-consuming process. In fact, I think I might actually leave it at this and come back once I've placed all the crop plots and then and done all the glass and everything, just so you guys don't have to go through that, because that's pretty monotonous and you're not seeing the construction process. So I'm going to go away and we'll come back hopefully with a finished product. Okay, so I've come back in a little bit early, and there's a reason for that. As you can see, there is a try missing out of here, and in order to snap a try into that spot, you have to remove this section here. Now the reason for that is the try roofs will snap upwards but not downwards. So if that tile is already in place, it won't place that. So I will show you what happens when you don't be careful, and the fact that I have, oh, it's over here. You'll notice there's a whole section here missing. Yeah, I'll have to add that in when I do the rest of the modeling. But to fix a mistake like this, because I think it's important that you know how, so I would go inside here and I will attach a couple of tries in place. This snaps to the wall, so there is something physically snapping it. I can then remove that section, snap the try into the spot that I want, hopefully, snap the correct piece in, and then I can now go through and remove the scaffold. So like I said before, I've done a lot of building, but I still make silly mistakes. So I will come back if there's anything important that I find that has gone wrong. Otherwise, hopefully it will be done by the time I get back. Okay, so I'm now returning after adding all the little bits and pieces. I haven't had any doors in the door frames, but this is what it looks like after I've done a bit of remodeling of the glass and the tinting. As you can see, it looks a lot better. Now I'm having some issues with the ramps. I used to be able to turn them opaque. I don't remember anything in the notes saying that they're being changed, but I can't seem to actually affect the transparency of them at all. Otherwise they would be opaque as well. I did replace at the bottom section there, in that section there that used to be a stone wall. I replaced it with glass just a moment ago, just because it looked a bit funny. So we now have stone meeting glass, and it looks quite nice. If you come in down the bottom, I put in the cages, so you can put your dung beetles and snails and whatnot. Obviously you've got your gardener and your farmer. There's plenty of space in here. I'd probably put maybe a chem bench or something like that for doing narco berries into narcotics, and I'd probably also consider putting in something for making paint. So we'll go up the ramp and we'll have a quick snizz around. As you can see, I've done a bit of modeling inside here as well. This is what I meant before about the fact you can't actually walk through the gaps once the crop plots are in place. Now I want you to take note of this. As you can see, I have 35 crop plots in this, one above the other, and you'll notice that it's still a greenhouse effect of 300%, and it's irrigated purely from the taps in the very center. So I've used as minimal amount of taps and whatnot as possible. As you can see, the ramps that I've added in the try, you can run up perfectly fine. There's no hassle going up and down them. There's a nice space around the area from where the glass is. I really like this this kind of design. You can't actually run off here. It's actually the slopes are actually so close you can't quite run off. So further down you can. So I'd have to crouch to get through here. The thing is, if you're actually attending these crop plots, there's very few that you can't access just by running up to the sides, and over here I could literally just jump up to access. It's not too much of a major if you don't want to go through the process of crouching through it all. So as you can see, it's a very functional building. You still get all your greenhouse goodies, and what I'll do is I'll just add the ghost back on and show you from the air. As you can see, it's still capped with the stone. I quite like just tying that stone basework in with that, but it turned out pretty good. Like I said, I'd probably extend it upwards a little bit. If I was doing this on a server, I'd possibly do it double and space it out a little bit more with the distance between the crop plots, it would look really cool. It's not really needed. This is kind of working as it is. The foundation work I've put in there, it is a bit overkill. I could have gotten away with it being shorter, but I needed too high to fit the cages in, and I sloped it up just to add the effect to make it look pretty. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like the results of what we worked on today. If you did like it, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to see more of my videos, and hopefully today you've learned a few new tricks, and I'll see you next time. Take care.